Hey everyone, welcome to Living Survival. Today we're going to take a look at some more ultra budget folders, so stick with me. So we previously took a look at the Ganzo G704, the Ganzo G720, and the Sanrenmu 7010. If you guys want to check out the video on that, just go back a couple videos to my ultra budget folders and you can see the specs and how I feel about these particular knives. Today we're going to take a look at a few more. This is the Ganzo G717, the Ganzo G714, the Harnes Viper CK6015, and the Harnes Knight CK6013. Some more nice options when it comes to budget knives. I'm also going to put some links below to GearBest's website, who sent me all these knives for review. They've got some great prices and free worldwide shipping. Just keep in mind that it does take a while to get from there to the States with the free shipping option, but you're going to get a great price on these budget folders. So first up, we've got the Ganzo G717. It's got a 440C blade steel with a cool stonewash finish. This is the orange handle scales, which are G10. It does come in, I believe, orange and tan. It might come in a few other colors as well. It's also got a stonewashed pocket clip. It does have the axis lock, which is found on a lot of Benchmade's knives. However, even though it looks very similar, it doesn't operate the same. It's certainly not as smooth and not as nice as an axis lock found on a real Benchmade knife. With this axis lock, I can easily open and close the knife. It's very smooth when it locks up, and when you pull the axis lock back, it's very smooth in both directions. What I've found on these Ganzo knives with the axis lock is that it's very stiff. I mean, it's hard to even get my hands in there to pull it back. It's very hard. It does loosen up over time. However, since it's recessed in there and it's just harder in general to operate, it's certainly not as nice a quality and not as nice. So even though it looks very similar, it certainly doesn't operate the same way. It's certainly not as smooth, and as you can see there, it pretty much is almost recessed in these handle scales, so it's a lot harder to get your fingers in there to make that work. Now, some people I know have just modified the opening here so that it protrudes a little bit more, but again, you know, this is an $18 knife, so that's really what you're getting from the Ganzo G717 is the price, not necessarily the quality of the axis lock. Another thing obviously that makes it a budget knife is the 440C over some of the harder steels. Now, it does come very sharp from the factory. It does have a very cool stonewash finish on it. The lockup is really nice. There's also ambidextrous thumb studs on it, as well as a little bit of jimping here, which is nice, but it's not really functional. It really doesn't stop your hand from slipping. Again, it's got a really nice stonewashed pocket clip that is reversible left and right, tip up. It's got nice G10 handle scales on it. They are very even, and there's nothing really protruding from the knife anywhere. However, they're not as rounded as some of the higher quality knives, and you can kind of feel that with really all the Ganzo knives in particular, is that they're a lot rougher on the edges and they're not quite as smooth as a, you know, higher quality knife would be. As I said, the lockup's really nice. We've got a couple of stainless standoffs there with the stainless liners. The axis lock, again, is functional. However, it's just not nearly as smooth as on a Benchmade knife. When closed, you can see that the blade tip there is pretty perfectly centered and there isn't any wiggle or play there. So overall, a very nice looking knife, very functional knife. Just keep in mind that for that budget price, you're definitely not getting as nice of an axis lock, and you're only getting the 440C steel. However, the lockup's good, the alignment's good, and it's very sharp right out of the box. A little bit rough on the edges, but you could fix that yourself, or just deal with it because it's an $18 knife. Next, I have the Ganzo G714. This is a Tanto style blade. It has a steel that I've never heard of before, BRD 4116. It is very sharp, just like all the Ganzo knives and all the Chinese knives in general from Sanrenmu or Harns. They've all been really sharp right out of the box. I'm not a huge fan of Tanto knives, but this one is actually pretty nice. It does feel really good in the hand. This one, the corners are a little bit more rounded off. Give you a closer look there. You can see that they're a little bit more rounded on the edges, and that really makes a big difference when you're holding the knife in your hand. So this one has some really nice and not overly grippy G10. It does have some nice jimping up top here with the dual thumb studs, and it actually does stop your thumb. That's about the perfect amount of jimping that I like to have on my knives. It stops your thumb without being overly aggressive. This one also has sort of a semi-stone wash. It's more of sort of a scratched finish on the pocket clip. The lockup again is pretty nice on this knife. It is adjusted pretty well from the factory. Now you can see here that on the liner lock it does protrude a little bit here, and some people have said that they don't like the very front portion of that. Give you a closer look here. You can see that the front portion of that sticks out a little bit more than the rest of it. And when you wrap your finger around it, it does sometimes catch or rub on that forwardmost part. Not too big of a deal considering that this is an $11 knife. The lockup is good with the liner lock. However, when you close this one, the liner does press it off center just a little bit. That's fairly typical with frame locks and liner locks that I've had from all different companies, is that the frame will push that blade out of center just a little bit. The reason you want your blade in the center is so that obviously when you're opening and closing the knife, it's not rubbing on the liners at all. And you can look at your knives, and if it's way off to one side, chances are when you're opening and closing the knife, as I said, the blade is rubbing on the liners. This one also has a few stainless standoffs with stainless liners. Another pretty nice knife from Ganzo for 11 bucks. So this one is from another Chinese manufacturer called Harns, H-A-R-N-D-S. This is their Harns Viper, or the CK6015. It's got G10 handles on it with stainless liners. It's a frame lock with a disc style opener, which is pretty cool. It opens really smoothly. Lockup again is very nice on this knife. 9CR18 MOV steel. Take a closer look. This one is razor sharp right out of the box. Only a one-way pocket clip on this one as well, and it is tip down. The pocket clip is nice deep carry though, so that's pretty cool. You have a lanyard hole in the back. Like I said, frame locks and liner locks tend to push that blade off center just a little bit, but as long as it's not too far off to one side, you're not going to get any rubbing or pinching. The liner lock is quite stiff when you first get it. It does rub just a little bit there. You could either modify that, or over time it probably will loosen up just a little bit, but again, you're not getting quite as nice a quality as you would find in a higher priced knife. I like the contour on these handles. I like the ambidextrous thumb stud or thumb disc here. And overall, it's a pretty good looking knife for $15. The last one I have to show you here is the Harns Night model, or the CK6013. Now I really like this knife. It's a bit smaller than the others. Most of the Ganzo knives I've found, and some of the other Harns knives, are really large in size and they're heavy in weight. This one feels really good in my hand. I like the size of it for an everyday carry pocket knife. It's very similar in size to like the Sanrenmu 7010, and I just like that size. I like the smaller size. Can compare it to like one of the Ganzo knives here. It's a lot smaller, it's thinner, and weight wise the Ganzos are very heavy. It's got a pretty cool pocket clip on it that is sort of semi-acid washed. It's a little bit darker. It looks like it's got a little bit of stone washing on it there. It's got GFN handles, which are cool. They're sort of got this texture on it that feels really good. It's got a bunch of different standoffs in there, stainless steel standoffs and liners. This one is a liner lock as well. This one's got 8 CR14 MOV steel. Again, it's very sharp. All of the knives that I've received have been really sharp right out of the box. This one has got fantastic lockup as well. Ambidextrous thumb studs on both sides. Again, liner lock with stainless liners. Now, this one is definitely very easy to open and close, unlike the one that we just looked at. This liner moves out of the way quite a bit easier, which is nice. You can see again that it's just off center there, but it's not rubbing or grinding, so that's a-okay with me. The problem I had with this one is that it was squeaking a little bit when opening it and closing it, but I just threw a little bit of tool oil in there and that took that right away. So again, minor little things that you can do to customize or mod these knives. You know, clean them up, lube them up, clean the scales up if you want, you know, grind them down to your preference or sand them down to your preference. So again, for a $9 price tag, this is an excellent knife that you can just beat up or customize any way you see fit. So which ones are my favorites out of the ones that I've looked at from Ganzo, Sanrenmu, and Harns? I'd probably have to say that the 7010 from Sanrenmu is one of my favorites. It's just a nice size knife. It's weighted right. It's very smooth opening and closing, and it just makes an excellent EDC knife that you don't really have to worry about whether it gets damaged or anything like that, because it is such an affordable knife. When it comes to the Harns knives that I've looked at, probably this 6013 is my favorite. It's very comfortable in the hand. I like the GFN handles, and again, for $9 you really can't beat it for a knife that you don't really have to worry about. All the Ganzo knives that I've looked at, I really don't have a favorite. The Ganzo knives just seem very sharp. Their edges are very sharp. They're very heavy, and their axis lock doesn't work very well in my opinion. Otherwise, they are nice. I mean, the stonewash finish is nice. The pocket clip is nice. And, you know, they do make a great budget knife in the, you know, $10 to $20 price range, which is what you can pick these up for. If I had to choose one, it'd probably be this Tanto style, just because it does have, you know, a little bit nicer G10 on it, and it's more comfortable in my hand. The jimping's a little bit nicer, except for that liner there that I would probably sand down a little bit so that it doesn't stick out as much. So overall, I'd probably take these two as my favorite out of the ones that I've reviewed, but again, they're all great knives for the budget price. Now, if there's a model that I haven't shown that you guys use, please leave me a comment below and I'll be sure to check it out. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Please give it a big thumbs up. Leave me some comments below on what you think about the Chinese knives in general. Are they a good deal, or are they simply a copy or a clone? I welcome all forms of discussion, positive and negative, just as long as it's not nasty, in my comment section below, and I do try to follow up and reply to each and every comment that comes in. I appreciate it if you guys share my videos on social media, Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, especially if you're new to my channel, click that red subscribe button for more videos.